It is another Wednesday evening, and that means it's time for another Auburn Family Night. This is the live stream that is produced by you and for you, the Auburn family. We're going to get into anything and everything Auburn related. If it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us. Let's get into it right now. Well, War Eagle Auburn family, and a special War Eagle and welcome to those of you that consider yourselves part of the E2C Network family, the best little family within the Auburn family. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you are watching live, whether you are watching on the replay. We appreciate you being here, however you got here, whenever you got here, to join in with us and to talk about anything and everything Auburn related. As I addressed at the start of the show, this is our weekly Wednesday live stream called Auburn Family Night, where you get to dictate where we go with the conversation. There are a variety of different things out there we could discuss. I have some at the top of my mind, but you all get to discuss that. And of course, on a Wednesday night, as is typically the case, we have open mic night, which means that you can take part in the show if you would like to do so. You can do so by just hanging out in the live chat or dropping a comment on the replay, or you could even call into the show. Do it through your voice only or with your video on. Doesn't matter. You choose. But the phone line is available now for those who choose to access it. And we'll be waiting by for any of you that want to take advantage of that. So don't be shy. Let us know you're here. You can also get us started by smashing the like button. It's a huge way to help the show start off on a good note and help us get started with everything here. Lets people know that we're live, all of that good stuff, and to join in on the conversation. As you're thinking about topics, questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals that you may want to dive into today, let me do what I call setting the table, and we'll go from there. Obviously, the biggest news that we all got this morning was the brand new softball coaches that are heading our way. I'm still getting their names. I believe it is Chris and I'm blanking on it right now. And Malvo, I think is how you say it. If that, or do I have it? I gotta look it up. I'm so sorry. I thought I had it memorized and I don't. It's one of those things that you just think Chris and Kate. I thought it was Kate, but I was like, is it Catherine? Maybe it is Catherine. Chris and Kate Malvo, I believe is how it is pronounced. If someone can correct me on that, let me know. But brand new softball coaches coming to us from Tennessee, a husband and wife duo doing co-head coaches. And I know that's throwing a bit of all the Auburn fan base for a loop right now. I think a lot of you are making a bigger deal about that than it sounds, in terms of like it's not a foreign concept in the softball ranks, and it's not a common thing, but it's also not as weird as some people are making it out there to be. I actually think it's going to be a great decision for Auburn in the long run. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Obviously, we're just speculating at this point. New softball coaches are out. Obviously, we're in the middle of summer and camps are going on for Auburn football. Visits are starting to happen. While we don't focus on the decisions of 18 years olds here, we're, of course, wanting to entertain that as much as we can and talk about a few of those things. The team is in the middle of practice. Players are arriving on campus. Those have not already. So that's obviously going on. We're all focusing around how is the college football landscape going to change. There's a variety of things that we can talk about that are specifically orange and blue related, but then there are some that are obviously more long range outside the Auburn scope that we can dive into as well this evening. So you take the pick, you pick the conversation, the question, the topic. While we get things started, we can go ahead and take one of our first callers tonight. He's one of our regulars and is ready to go early. So we'll go ahead and take him now. Mr. Kevin, how's it going, sir? Are you ready? I don't know if I caught him at a good time.
How you
Kevin,
doing?
how are you doing there, buddy?
War Eagle.
War Eagle, how are you doing tonight, buddy? Kevin, can you hear me?
How you been doing?
I'm doing well. What about yourself?
Fine. I fixing be dropped off at home from church.
Okay, well, great. What's on your mind tonight that's Auburn related?
the softball coaches.
What you think about them? You happy? You pleased? You think they're going to do a good job?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no problems with them coming from Tennessee, huh? It's not a big deal, is it?
Uh-uh.
Okay. What else is on your mind tonight?
Hold on. Yeah.
We caught Kevin at a bad time. It
I
looks like.
think. I think Cam Coleman will score 28 touchdowns.
Yeah, you told me that last week, and I told you I love your optimism, but I don't know that that's going to necessarily happen. But if it does, Auburn will probably be national champions.
I got Caleb Burton with 30 touchdowns.
Yeah. Last week you told me it was Cam Coleman, Rivaldo Fairweather, and I think somebody else that were all going to have like 20 to 30 touchdowns apiece. As much as I would love to see that, I promise you that's not going to happen. We'll just take, somebody getting 10 touchdowns.
I think it will.
And it might, listen, there are stranger things that can happen in a world where someone can run 109 yards for a touchdown in the Iron Bowl to win it all. Anything's possible. But
yes, Chris Davis.
I got him fired up with that. Do you see where Chris Davis's relative was being recruited by Auburn?
Yeah, that's his son.
I thought it was his son, but again, I don't do a lot of looking into all that stuff, so I didn't want to speak out of turn. I just knew he was related.
How's Brian Beatty doing?
Good question. So we actually got a big update today from his relatives. I believe it is his godparents. They said that he is actually starting to move. If I understand what they wrote out there, both his arms and legs on both sides are starting to show some signs of movement, and which wasn't something that was happening before. So it looks like we're trending in the right direction. Oh, you there, Kevin? Kevin might have froze on us.
That's good.
There he is. Gotcha. Okay, you froze on me for just a little bit there, but yeah, it sounds like he's improving. So good question though.
How come we got head softball coaches?
You're asking why we have co-head softball coaches?
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine they wanted to be a package deal because they're a husband and wife. Yeah. And to get one, you got to get the other and probably give them and Kevin's gone. It seemed like we had connection issues there the entire time. If he calls back, we'll let him in one more time for just a short little stint. But there you go. That's how the calls work. You can call in and be on camera. There he is. Kevin, you back now? Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. I was about to say.
I think they will do good at Auburn.
I think so too. I think it'll serve us well to have something different with the softball team. Somebody that maybe is an up and comer to both of them to being a head coach. I believe Chris has been a head coach one time before, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think they will talk Annabelle Weidra to stay at Auburn.
Well, one of the biggest hurdles in getting someone to stay is show them that you have a head coach or head coaches in this case. And so they've got that. So that's obviously one leg up in convincing people that the program's heading in the right direction. And we'll just see, right? All we can do is try.
How many touchdowns do you think Jaquez Hunter scored whole season?
I would feel comfortable seeing him score in the 10 to 12 range just based off what I have seen right now. Are we talking about rushing or are we talking about receiving too?
Receiving too.
Okay, so if we're doing both, I will say he'll get probably close to 15. I could see 15. Us utilizing him in that way as well. So I would say combined rushing and receiving touchdowns.
Hey, I wrote down these right here.
Mm-hmm. What are these?
But I'll read them to you. Caleb Cunningham, Ivan Henderson, Jasper Park, and Eric Winters and J.J. Lewis.
Are these your commits that you're wanting?
That's the commits
that you want.
I want in 2025 class.
Well, it seems like from what I'm hearing, we're in good positioning with all of those. So you may get your wish. So keep that list coming.
Hey, I got my list 2024 class.
Yeah, you did. You certainly did. So we'll see if you're right this time, and hopefully
Hey, I won't
we'll
be
have a lot of
calling
interest.
in the show next Wednesday because I'll be at mission trip.
Well, I'm glad that you're going on a mission trip. I got news for you. I will not be doing a Wednesday show next week because I'll be on vacation. So we'll just take a break together. Does that sound good?
Oh.
All right, buddy. Well, if you have one more question or comment, I can take it real quick.
The wide receiver we got named Kim Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
He will score like maybe 21 touchdowns.
Yep, that's going to be what you're sticking to, and I'm going to hold you to that. So we'll see how that shakes out when it comes down to the season.
I hope I'll see you at the fan day.
Yes, I hope I see you too. I'm still waiting on it. I keep holding out hope that you're going to come walk up and you'll be behind me or something like that. But hadn't happened yet. We'll make it happen.
I found 2 tickets for the Auburn and Alabama AM game. I might get them because it's a great deal.
We'll do it, and we can definitely hang out and see each other for the very first time in person.
Yeah, talk to you later, War Eagle.
Talk to you later, War Eagle, buddy. That was Mr. Kevin. He has called in a lot. He's one of our regulars. Good to hear from him and his big plans he has for recruiting, for the wide receivers, all of that stuff. So if you guys want to call in too, you can take advantage of the phone lines like Kevin does. So just hit the link at the top of the chat here on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, we'd love for you to take part too, but you'll have to come to YouTube to get access to that. I've tried before. You know what? I may try to do it on the back end here while we're talking. To put that into the chat on Facebook, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I struggle with whether or not I'm doing it the right way, but I know some of you on Facebook have sometimes wanted to do that, but you don't want to come all the way over here to YouTube to do that. So I'm actually trying to see if I can do it right now for you in the chat. Let's see if that works. I think it's posting right now. But yeah, so take advantage of that if you'd like to. Looks like it popped up on Facebook actually, which is kind of what we were hoping for. I was hoping it would help me pin it to the top, but there's not a really cohesive way to do it. But if you'd like to call into the show, don't be shy. I don't bite super hard. If some of you have made your way over from TikTok, you can get a little bit more, I won't say aggressive, but it can get a little bit more interesting over there in terms of the conversation, the way it goes. And you probably would have a different opinion of me over there, but it's just the nature of the beast that is TikTok live streams as opposed to our YouTube and Facebook audience for the most part. But do call in, and if you've got something you want to discuss, something you want to hash out with me, now is the time. I know we are sitting in a time where the interest is not as high. There's not as much to talk about in the Auburn space, but rest assured, folks, you will be wishing for the day that you maybe had time to do things except for focus on Auburn things. Probably not. Actually, that's probably a lie. You'll probably be so happy that the news will be rolling in right there. It is a weird year. And we talked about this a few live streams ago on a Wednesday night where normally Auburn baseball is in regional play or had been in regional play. And this probably would have been the most likely opportunity for us to have everything died down because they just moved into super regionals, I believed, in college baseball play. And Auburn obviously did not have a great year, make any kind of tournament, even conference tournament. So it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit weird that we have been for the last couple of weeks, so checked out, it seems like. WT says, I have not been back to Auburn in a while. Do you think that the Haley Center will ever be replaced? I had so many classes there and hope not. So great question. I think one of the things that is hard for a lot of us who are older, you know, and when I say older too, we all have different time periods when we were there. My Auburn is different from WT's Auburn. My Auburn is different from someone whose Auburn is going through classes right now. And so we'll always want to hold on to what we know as familiar. One of those mainstays has been Haley Center, and it just seems like it's never going to go away. There have been notes and discussion points released about like future plans and things that may happen to certain buildings, such as Beard Eves Memorial Coliseum. I can't recall off the top of my head a plan that has been formally and publicly discussed to get rid of Haley Center. Here's what I will tell you. I would imagine that on the surface, you'll see a lot of people say finally, because it's such an old building. It's so confusing at times. But I think after that initial wave of thank goodness gets over, you will see an upswell of the people that have fond memories there, especially those people that are still stuck in there to this day and never found their way out from their class in 1973. Believe it or not, I got lost in there too as well. If you don't know what the Haley Center is, it's the ginormous building, academic facility, basically in the middle of campus, right next to the stadium and the student center. And it's got a main tower and then 4 quadrant buildings that surround it as well. So it's almost like a 5-building structure with walkways and ramps and passover points between it. And inside, it's even more confusing. That's where the university bookstore is. It's been a home a lot lately for our liberal arts college, miscellaneous other things. So I don't know if it'll ever be replaced right now, but the thing is, progress is the buzzword around Auburn these days, campus or town. So don't be surprised. And I'm sure a lot of us will be disappointed the day it eventually does go, because eventually things have to change, it seems like. I used to love walking from Haley Center to Science Building. Cannot remember its name. I don't know how long ago you were there, so I don't know what the name might have been back then. There was a huge aviary for the eagle in between, and I would always go see the eagle. It definitely changed if that's the time frame we're talking about. I remember that. The Eagle's Nest, I think is what it was called, as a little kid. And I always thought that was the coolest thing because it just was such a unique thing in the middle of campus between Haley and the stadium. And I kind of hate that we don't have that anymore. However, as someone with a zoology degree and as someone from Auburn, someone who worked with birds, worked at the Raptor Center as a volunteer and worked professionally as a animal caretaker of sorts for a while, I can tell you what I know from my time there, that was not a good setup. Not so much in look, but just some other things that I'm not going to bore y'all with today. So as much as I, as an outside perspective person, someone who doesn't have that knowledge and that experience in that field, love that, I can also see it with those professional eyes and say, it was time for it to go. And to be honest, if you've been out to the Southeastern Raptor Center, which is on Shug Jordan Parkway. And so if you go to the intersection of Shug Jordan Parkway and the Wire Road intersection, just a little bit down heading north, you will find on the left a entrance into the Southeastern Raptor Center. Now, it used to be not even marked. Like it was just a dirt road, like it was somebody's private property. I believe there's actually a sign there now, which is saying something, that they're publicizing that it's there. It's a great facility. I'm sure it's changed a bunch since I've been out there. I like the fact that they, moved that out there to a quieter area and and kind of made a new destination of sorts, because it's really crowded over there now, like really crowded. So, but that's another fond memory that I'm sure a lot of people have of that Eagle housing area that used to be somewhat between Haley and the stadium. Let's see here. Late 80s to early 90s, I was there. The Eagle, is that what it was called? I thought it was called the Eagle Nest or something like that. The Eagle's Nest was the top floor of Haley Center when I was there. It was the study area. Okay, I think that's still it to some degree still. Couldn't they both be called that? Anyway, I think I would love to be up at the top of Haley Center. I don't know that they allow many people up there anymore for some sad reasons, but that's one of those cool. Here's what I'd love for them to develop at Auburn. They talk about doing the plus experiences at the games and stuff where you can get behind the scenes things at the games. I think there probably is, to be honest with you, a behind the scenes tour at Auburn where you can do some, yes, traditional touring things, such as go to some of the major buildings and stuff like that, just to see them and walk around them and have them talk to you about it. But I think it'd be cool to go up to the top of Sanford Tower. Very few people have been up there. Well, proportionally, to the top of Haley Center, maybe to the top of the scoreboard, just to get those really cool aerial views of Auburn that you don't get unless you're up there. That would be something that I would personally consider paying money for, just for a decent price, not an over exorbitant price. Yeah, WT, I'm not going to bring that one up there. I was hoping people knew what they meant, knew what I meant when I was talking about why that is probably not open access anymore. The other thing too is they, I think they have some spots pretty closed off in some other buildings too because of that. They used to do free movies inside Sanford Hall. I thought it was Langdon Hall that they used to do the movies in. Or is it both? There's not an auditorium in Sanford Hall, is there? I don't think there is. Yeah. Unless I'm mistaken. I mean, I've been in Sanford Hall, not the tower. I haven't spent a ton of time in there. But I think you're thinking, at least what I knew was Langdon Hall right next to it, one of the older buildings on campus, right where the seal is. By the way, the university posted a picture today of the seal, and we tweeted back, it's like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Hot take. I still will not touch the seal, to be honest with you. That's just me. I know that the tradition is that you're supposed to touch it once you have graduated. If you don't, or at least that's the way some people will say it, that don't touch it until you've graduated, or else your family members won't be able to graduate from Auburn. I can't bring myself to do it out of respect for the university. Is that weird? Yes. Is it odd? Yes. Am I probably borderline on stupidity right there? Yeah, I grant you that, but that's just the way that I feel about it. So I cannot step on the seal, even though I have graduated from Auburn. In fact, I've literally watched people before do like a somersault thing to avoid landing on it or stepping on it because they were, either looking at a book or looking at their phones. That I went to school and we didn't have our nose on our phones 24/7. And that wasn't that long ago, folks. And didn't realize it until it was too late. So they had to do some kind of side flip thing to avoid going on top of the seal. So the lengths that people will go to for that is pretty incredible. And I respect the respect for the seal, to be honest with you. Could be mistaken, WT says. It's been a long time ago. You might, I don't know. Listen, things have changed a lot in Auburn over the last several years. So I would not be shocked if at one point there were films showed in Auburn or in Sanford Hall. But I knew it as Langdon Hall. In fact, they showed some big Pat Dye film in there a couple of years back, maybe 3 years back. The Pat Dye Society showed in there, which was, I heard, really great, but I have not had the pleasure of watching a film in there yet. I think on campus, they're missing out on opportunities to do movies on the football field with that Jumbotron. I know they've done them sometimes, but yeah. I will cease my walk down memory lane and yield to others to comment. Well, it's a quiet night. And this is typically the pattern that we have during this time of year where people are not as energetic about Auburn stuff. And they're just all on vacations too. I mean, think about it. This is the first week of June. Everybody's going out and getting their first dip in the beach or the lake or whatever, and coming back. But I'm predicting probably about July 20th. You're going to see, about a month from now, you're going to see it really swing into gear as the NCAA, well, it's not NCAA anymore, the college football game comes out, and that gets people going again. And then you're going to have SEC media days, and that's going to have a lot of hype around it because of Oklahoma and Texas joining and doing it out in Dallas. I know they're doing it out in Texas, I believe in Dallas. Then you're going to have the start of fall practice, and then you're going to have the start of competitions being decided. And then before you know it, we are less than 2 weeks, maybe not even 2 weeks away from the start of the season, because they have that weird week 0 now. So hang on, saddle up. I know it's one of those times that you're just searching for things to talk about, but enjoy this essentially month off that you have that's not super focused on all things Auburn. WT says, I may be looking back with my orange and blue glasses, but I loved my time at Auburn. Well, most people have that experience. In fact, I've interviewed somebody on one of our shows that is an Alabama fan, but went to school at Auburn and has nothing but good things to say about his time at Auburn. It's a common thread. Then you hear the reverse, that people hated their time at Alabama. I'm sure people love their time at Alabama too. I would if I liked going to Walmart all the time as well. Yeah, so always fun to pick at them a little bit when you get the opportunity to. It's funny thinking about Auburn and Alabama interactions. I talked a lot about our TikTok live streams that we do most weekdays, and we get a lot of Alabama fans that come in there acting a fool. We're starting to find some decent ones as well that have good contributions. That used to be the case here on YouTube, that you couldn't start a YouTube live stream without a Bama fan coming in and just causing a havoc. It's like they all went to TikTok, which is really weird. Really, 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 really weird. WT says, I grew up an Alabama fan until I visited both campuses in my senior year of high school. I have been orange and blue since the day I visited Auburn. And that's how it usually goes. That's how it usually goes. You get there, you get a feel for it, you get a sense of it, and then before you know it, you're wearing orange and blue. And you're orange and blue through and through. And you believe in work, hard work, all the things. That's a very common storyline that people didn't know that they wanted to come to Auburn until they visited. And I actually had this discussion today with somebody on the TikTok live stream about kind of the differences. It was weird. We had somebody come in and make this statement. I was like, if you're from Alabama, why would you go to Auburn over Alabama? And it sounded like an Alabama fan, but it was actually somebody from the state of Washington, or at least a Washington fan. And we kind of had to explain to them, it's like, the notion that a university, simply because they have the name of the state in it, doesn't mean that they're the best option. And you have to take it as a holistic approach. If all you care about is football, then sure, maybe Alabama is the way for you to go right now. But if you care about football and you care about a lot of other sports, if you care about academics, the culture, the fan base, all of that, I think Auburn's going to win out in most of those categories. I know they do academically because they're consistently, year in and year out, of the ones in the state, ranked the best. And there's good reason for that. You can unparalleled engineering schools, unparalleled veterinary school. I would say that probably the medical and nursing is starting to become even better there. The sciences in general is pretty on par, if not above average, everywhere. I can't say anything. I hear the business school is pretty good. I can't speak on that. But yeah. So it's a good thing. All right. We have not that I don't love talking about stuff outside of sports, but what on y'all's mind about Auburn? What is on your mind about Auburn sports this week? Is it the typical things of, who's going to be the starting quarterback? the three, let me think of the two things that I get asked consistently. Who's the starting quarterback? Like there's actually a competition right now. And two, what's your record prediction? That's like the only two things that on the most space that people care about is those two topics. And every time I have to say the same thing. My prediction always starts at 8-4 until we get closer to the season, or until Auburn consistently shows me the ability that they should be considered a 9-3 team to start the season, or to at the beginning of that process of picking a record prediction. And then the quarterback situation is a lot easier than some people are trying to make it. And it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad sometimes out there. Did something happen for Al? We haven't even mentioned it. Did something happen for Auburn last week? I keep hearing Auburn did something really good athletically. Yeah, for those of you that joined us last week, we did a live stream of sorts of the golf tournament, the national championship golf tournament. And we didn't finish out the match together on this stream, but we came back once they had won it and secured it, and did another live stream after that. And I think you even heard me say on that particular live stream that I wasn't planning on going to any celebration or thing that they had that week. I got to Friday, which is when they were going to hold it at Toomer's Corner. They announced it that evening. They won the championship. And I said, as much as I want to be there, I've been traveling a lot lately. I can't really justify going on a day trip, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. And I got through the day. My wife got home from work, walks into my office and says, I cannot believe that you are not going to that thing at Toomer's Corner today. I looked at her, looked at my computer, looked at the time, and literally I'd been thinking about it all day. And I said, if I'm going to do this, I've got a limited window that I have left to make a decision and go. And I said, well, dadgummit, I guess I'm going. Sure enough, I literally ran to the closet, picked up my work bag, threw my computer and stuff and some camera equipment, and off we were. And it was, as it always is when you come to Auburn, it was a lot of fun. The celebration was outstanding. The live stream actually had me watching golf. That's how good that live stream was. The other thing is, too, the way that college athletics of particular sports, I will say, is, to me, and I've even heard some people who are coaches at that level say it's way more interesting. And I'm talking about kind of sports that don't get the excitement built around them. So your golf, tennis, it's a lot more fun and exciting than I think a lot of people are aware of. And when I'm talking about tennis, especially there, I know golf, there is a degree of decorum that you have to have. But I think you saw that there was a lot more emotion showed out there on the course than people, I think, were used to. And I believe it's a pretty known fact that you can come out to some of the golf courses that the team competes on in Auburn for official tournaments and stuff. You can go and walk with essentially the team and watch them. So if that's something that interests you, I would encourage you checking it out. That's why we talk about the Auburn experience here. But it was a pretty cool event. National champions. 23rd national title of Auburn's athletics history. It's across, I was about to say 4. I mean, it's across football, men's golf, women's track and field, men's and women's swimming and diving, and equestrian. So I think that's there's 6 representatives, all representing the 23 national titles, 2 for football, 1 for women's track and field, 1 for men's golf, and 3 national titles for equestrian, and then a lot across the swimming. People forget how dominant Auburn used to be in swimming. And they're pretty good now. They're getting back to that form a little bit. And I don't think they ever truly fell off the map, but definitely not to the level that we're all used to. CJ says somebody put out a college basketball top 25 and put Auburn at number 3. The internet is losing their ever-loving minds. I added that ever-loving part. Here's the thing. First of all, it's that time of year where content creators, such as myself and companies as well, need you to click, and they need something to stir up controversy. So that is what's going on there most likely. Second of all, though, I think if you're a rational college basketball fan and you see Auburn ranked highly, knowing what they were like last year, who they returned and who they added, it's not a foreign concept that they might even be in the top 10. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they should be the number 3 team overall, but I understand it. And it's also just meant to evoke some stuff. It's just a way too early top 25. That means diddly squat in the grand scheme of all of this. But it's cool to see. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. Let's see here. WT says he has not forgot about swing and diving. Rowdy Gaines was a phenomenal athlete. Here's the thing. Rowdy Gaines deserves his place in the sun with Charles, Frank, and Bo as the representatives of Auburn athletics. I think people, if you've not seen, I think it was the SEC story documentary about Rowdy Gaines, or maybe it was just an ESPN 30 for 30. I don't know how, I forget what their series are called now, but it's been several years now. If you have not watched that, you are missing out. Rowdy Gaines is an Auburn treasure. I hate to put people on tiers, but obviously it's hard to argue against Bo, Barkley, and the Big Hurt not being on the tier. But Rowdy should be there, but if not, at that secondary tier with names like Ruthie Bolton or Vicky Orr, and you can make a case for them to be at the top as well. People need to know Rowdy Gaines. If you don't know Rowdy Gaines, I'm going to take your Auburn card away from you and probably never give it back. If they would allow me to do such things, it doesn't really matter. All right. What else? Back on the topic with CJ, what do you guys think? Is number 3 too high for Auburn basketball to be considered thus far of what we know about the teams from the transfer portal? And I believe I know the ranking that you were talking about, CJ, of it being the post, and that's the way they phrase it, the post transfer portal rankings. Where would we fall? If you agree with that, if you don't agree with that, why? I mean, if I'm trying to look at it objectively, I think 3 is a little high, but I also can understand and make a case for maybe why they'd be here. I'd have to understand the other teams a little bit more about what their makeup is, what they've lost, what they've gained before I felt comfortable with that. But anyway, if I'm being objective, I think number 3 is a little high. WT says it's a little high. Auburn always does better when they not give him respect. Yeah. That's unfortunately the case. It seems to be. It does seem to be that. It do be like that sometimes. I think we should be ranked highly. I don't know about number 3, though. I prefer when we are underrated. It motivates them. It's a common thread. It's a common thread amongst the Auburn faithful of us wanting to be ranked a little bit lower. You know what? I'm gonna try something. I know this is a random change of subject here, but what I'd like to try something with you guys, and I don't know if it'll even show up all together. Let me pull it up on my screen. I might even have to plug in here because it may drain my battery. I do this for our TikTok people. I play some background music. I don't think I'll get bugged for it on YouTube, but this is a good night to experiment. This is the band playing. So you all tell me if you could hear it or not. If you can't hear it, let me know. We'll try to go a little bit louder. One of the things why I try to keep it down is people, send me text messages and it dings and stuff like that. But I always wondered if it would be better to have some type of background music playing on a stream like this for you all. So let me know if you can't hear it, or if you can hear it. We'll see if it comes through the microphone or not. I don't know that it does. All right, let's see. While you guys are thinking about that, WT says, I hope the fans give Peyton Thorne a chance at the start of the season. I really think he will be vastly improved this year. Oh, well, that's the thing is, all Peyton has to do is go out there and perform, and he's going to shut everybody up that's a critic of him. And then those same people that will be, praising him were the same ones that were dogging him on social media and stuff prior to that. It's just one of those things. It's a very cowardice way of being a fan, of saying the things that people say, but they don't have to say them to the people's face. And these are grown people, a lot of times grown men behaving this way. It's just a very, very sad thing. Peyton Thorne's in the driver's seat, and he can do exactly what he wants with it at this point. It's his job to lose. It's been that way, and it's going to stay that way for the time being. Now, the great thing, and another reason why I don't offer solid, full predictions until the season gets closer, is because of things like competitions playing themselves out. Injuries happen. I had someone today take me to task on TikTok. Why do you think it's too early to put out a top or a record prediction? And I said, for those exact reasons. And I hated to use Brian Battie as an example, but that'll affect things. I mean, it really is. It's not the most important thing in regards to him right now, but it does affect things. The running back room is not as full now. So if an injury happens, you got less bodies there to use. So things like that, competitions playing themselves out. That's why I wait so long to give out an official record prediction. But just know my operating principle at the start of every offseason is 8-4, because every Auburn football team, I fully believe this, with our fan support, our financial backing, our interest in it, our facilities, the overall package that is Auburn football, should be able to, as a minimum, every single year hit 8-4. That's you taking care of business in your non-conference and usually being respectable in SEC competition. This year is going to be challenging on the road with Alabama, with Georgia, Missouri, who on paper looks really good. Kentucky will probably be a little bit tougher on the road, but that home schedule looks real nice this year. You've got, obviously, Alabama A&M to start off the year. You've got I'm blanking, Cal, New Mexico, and then a big matchup with Arkansas to start off SEC play, and then Oklahoma. So if Auburn can sweep them for a 5-game home streak start, and then you hit Georgia. By the way, you guys still have your feathers ruffled about Georgia and putting this as their homecoming game. What a boneheaded move by them. It's such a Georgia move. Such a Georgia move. WT says, I agree. 8 wins should always be the floor for Auburn, bare minimum. It should be the floor. And I think that if you don't reach that, it is a disappointing year. By most people's standards, by most teams' standards. That should be your foundation that you fall back to in not an off year, in a I want to say satisfactory, a meets the minimum expectations year. Okay, because a lot of people will say like that, or you're saying that's what Auburn's capable of. You don't have a high opinion of them, or you don't think that. No, it's my ground floor. It's where I start at. I think I'm going to need to see a lot, hear a lot, feel through a lot to put them up to 9-3 this year. So maybe this kind of buries the lead. I don't know if that's the expression, but gives away what my final prediction will be. It probably won't change, to be honest with you. I just don't see that. Maybe I can convince myself of it by the time we get there. My orange and blue glasses are fully on my head. I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. But an 8-4 minimum floor is I think fair. All right. What else? What else is on your? I think we're back. We back. I think I am now. Let me make sure. Yeah, we're back. Okay. But that's on the wrong one now. Sure. All right, we're good now. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. Don't know what happened with that. That got a little bit confusing. I didn't even bump anything. It's just weird like that sometimes. It do be like that sometimes. CJ with the shout out for the track and field team. Yeah, we used to do a track and field podcast, myself and my wife, Jessica, who is a former track and field athlete herself, high school, but still track and field athlete, quite the distance runner in her day. And we were not able to get that started this year the way we wanted to. So we have taken definitely the year off because obviously we haven't done a single thing about it. I right now don't foresee us bringing that back, and I hate it because this has been such a good year for Auburn track and field. Second year under Coach Leroy Burrell. I am happy that we got to do the first year under him, just to kind of see where he was heading, and we got the feeling that we were heading in the right direction with some of the talent that he was bringing in. Did it again this year. I think it was 13, 14, 15 people sent to compete at nationals, which I don't believe is going to be enough for you to score points to win. Even if you were, I mean, I guess if you won every single event, you might be able to. But I don't think it's going to be enough to place very highly for the national title. But you got to get the people there first, and increasing that number is definitely a win in the right place. You snagged a track and field wife. Oh, is that like a thing? I think it's called outkicking your coverage. Well, I was a kicker in football, so I always outkick the coverage. I guess that's not really a good thing. I didn't know track and field wives were had a certain good or bad stigma on them, but yes, I mean, she ran track in high school. Excuse me. She had a knee surgery, so she can't. She can run still, but she can't run like she used to. But we enjoy doing that. If you want to go back and listen to excerpts of that, it's called Tiger Tracks. So if you go to our podcast feed, you can usually, if you go to like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can like search for them on there, or under our feed, go search for, just type in track and all of those will come up. I think, or you type in tracks, TARX, because that's how we spelled it, Tiger Tracks. And there would be at least 5 or 6 seasons of she and I doing the show together. I think it was 1 season of her friend and former teammate, Whitney Wales, I believe her last name is, who was our co-host and did the show with her for a little bit of time. That was during early part of E2C Network, probably 3 years in. It was cool though. I wish that we still had the time together to do that, and I wish that they had the time to do it together as well. Okay, I don't know that you guys are actually hearing that. Let me see. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. You guys tell me when you start hearing it. Oh, you definitely hear that one now. They're doing the Star Wars march. This will probably get me dinged on YouTube if it's actually coming through. All right, we're sitting at about 48 minutes in the stream. What else have we not talked about tonight that you all would love to discuss? What's on your minds? What's on your hearts? What topics haven't we dove into yet? I'm surprised we haven't had more people having interest in the softball discussion, all of those things. I just heard it. Okay. Is it too loud? Especially since you hear them doing the Star Wars march right now. Yes, we are workshopping on a live stream. This is what we do sometimes in this show. It's the most unscripted, unprepared thing I do all week, and I love it for that because y'all are like my guinea pigs of sorts. I haven't decided it. No, not too loud. Okay, that kind of tells me I need to back off just a little bit. My thing is when they're not doing it really loud. All right, I'll go back and see if that works. So let's just leave it. WT says, sorry, I don't follow softball. Well, you should. And this is a good year to start. So can I encourage you all of that? I know that there has been a lot of turmoil and a lot of frustration for some of softball fans and people that fought out there. This is a good year to jump back on board, to get reinvested. I'm committing myself to, or I'm going to try to commit myself to that. And I'm always aware and talking about it to some degree, but you have to kind of temper how much time you spend on these things when you cover as much as we do here, especially to what degree success they're having. But jump on board, learn about the coaches, learn about some of the players that are here. If you've not been to a game at Moore, JB Moore, you're missing out. They've got a smoke breathing eagle. If you remember the old eagle statue that was at the entrance to Beard Eves Memorial, it's out there. And its eyes light up and it breathes smoke. It's a nice facility. I get the feeling that in a few seasons we may see I want to call it an expansion, but maybe what would you call it? A renovation of sorts of seating and stuff over there, because when they got to the heights that they got under Clint Myers, they added in some extra seating, like some high-rise bleachers behind the seating that was already there to accommodate everything. And yeah, you got to start selling it out, but I wonder if they could set it up a little bit differently to look a little bit better. It's just not my sport. I just don't have the time for it. Same with college baseball. Just no time to follow for me. Well, I find time to follow it, so you should. I'm just kidding. I understand that, but I would highly, highly encourage you to try to squeeze out what you can of some time and invest in some of these programs. WT, I'm speaking to you like, because it was your question. I know you don't have a problem valuing the whole Auburn experience, but just in general, for anybody out there that's, not made an attempt to invest time in some of these other programs, I would highly encourage you to, because it's a lot more fun that way. I'm someone who's a living, breathing testament to that. It's why we do what we do here. Call it the Auburn experience. All right. Get some more comments, question topics in. We're getting towards the end of the show here, and I don't want to get out of here without covering any things that we have or have not discussed that you may like discussed tonight. We can leave the phone line open for just another minute or two. In the meantime, let me give you some things to keep in mind. What's our next scheduled live stream here, especially on YouTube? We have the Auburn Experience, episode 80 will be live this Sunday at 9 Eastern time. Most times we try to go live at 8 on weekdays and stuff like that when we do live streams that are outside the scheduling norm. But this one's always at 8 p.m. Eastern time start time, 9 p.m. on Sundays for the Auburn Experience live podcast recording, episode 80, sports, culture, family. Don't miss it. It's going to be good times as always. A couple of other content pieces for you to keep in mind if you haven't watched here on YouTube, on Facebook. We discussed the Brian Batiste situation a little bit. Now we've gotten more information since we did this video, but maybe it'll help you bring you up to speed just a little bit. Talked a little bit about why the Natty is significant for Auburn, other than just being a great national championship. And of course, if you haven't heard, Ryan Bliss got his debut in the big leagues, former Auburn baseball player. Really cool moment for him. We talked about him a little bit, so make sure you check that out. And finally, we just put this out this afternoon. Auburn creative team put out a top 10 dunks video, so we did a little reaction video of it. So go watch some awesome Auburn dunks and consume the content there. All of those things. If you're not following, subscribing everywhere, you're missing out. Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, here on YouTube, audio podcast. Feel like I'm forgetting something. It's out there. Dive into it if you can. Let's see here. Oh my goodness, Mr. Dalton. Speaking of TikTok, he found us by way of the Tiki Talkies. Dalton, you gonna call in? I will leave this phone line open for you. I said I was gonna close it down in a minute. You want to call in? You gonna call in? No pressure, but pressure. But glad you made it over here. so you can get more Auburn content out there. We've been trying to get him over from the TikTok so he's always over there and is a very faithful person. He's part of our Conquer Club too. You can join by hitting the join button here on YouTube. But if you want the best and full experience of it, patreon.com/E2C network. Nothing to say today. Just glad to be here though. I know I was giving you a little bit of encouragement to maybe increase your interest in calling today. The Auburn Experience, hosted by the Auburn Basketball Jinx. We're never going to let him live that down, are we? CJ, thank you so much for the kind words. We do the best that we can. I feel like you get the most well-rounded experience here at the Auburn Experience, E2C Network. And I hope that we continue to do that for you. I'm trying to give you a little bit of extra things to follow along with. Going back to the earlier comment, the last time I had free time to follow softball was when Myers was the coach. I want all the AU sports to do well, and we'll celebrate them. Just can't follow as close as I used to. And I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot. And for those people that fell off from Auburn softball after the Clint Myers situation, I understand a little bit too. Very unfortunate situation. Very, very, very unfortunate situation that is very frustrating in a lot of ways because Auburn softball had reached heights that it hadn't reached before very quickly, and it seemed like it was going to maintain for a while. And then bad decisions were made. It's amazing to me how unwise people can be when they have it so good. I'll leave it at that. Informs and entertains. Well, I don't know how well we inform. I don't know how well we entertain, but I know we do some of that. We try our best to do all the things out there. Yeah, here's one of the things that I'll say. You have a lot of options on Auburn content out there these days, especially in the YouTube space. When we started doing this, there was like one, maybe two others that were prominently and consistently doing Auburn stuff because I just didn't think it was explored. And so that's why we dove into it headlong, and we got a huge rush of followers and stuff. 4,000 subscribers here on YouTube, but you see like a lot of them don't show up because that's just how it goes. But it's gotten a lot crowded, more crowd. Can't talk. The crowding has increased over the time, which is a good thing. I love people having options. But we appreciate those of you that consider us your source or your main source of information and content and entertainment in the Auburn space. All right. We have talked a little bit about, we've talked about a lot tonight. We have talked about the softball coaches. We have talked a little bit about Auburn football, got into some, how do you pick out a record prediction and why I do it the way I do it. We've talked a little bit about what Kevin called in and gave us his predictions for some of the players this year, which are always super optimistic, which is, I would love one day if those predictions came true. I just don't see it. But it was good to hear from him. We've talked a lot about campus today and some of the things from the past, the future, the present, about how it's changing. We got into a conversation about Haley Center. Will it be around much longer? One thing on that, and I guess as a quick aside, I was kind of giving you the wrap up of everything we've talked about tonight. They are doing this new development housing situation just across from Haley in the Student Center now. Which is kind of, if you look at it, the first wave of potential renovations of that area. And as one thing goes and changes, the question is, will another thing in that area be eventually the next thing? So I'm not saying that you should look as that new facility as a harbinger of things to come. But I'm also saying you shouldn't dismiss that out of hand. My gut tells me that Haley Center is fine for a while, but eventually they're going to want to make sure that they're utilizing every bit of space that they have on campus as well as they possibly can. So enjoy it while you have it. Love it while you're there, because tomorrow it may be gone. All right, final things here. Smash the like button if you haven't. It's a huge help for the channel. Subscribe if you're not. If you're on Facebook, you can do similar things there across all the social media platforms. Make sure you tell a friend. We need you guys to be our advocates this summer. We always push this every summer. This is the summer of growing our little family within the Auburn family. So tell a friend, tell a relative, drag them here, put them in front of a TV screen or a computer screen. We need you guys to continue to help us build the best little family within the Auburn family. I appreciate you all so much for joining me tonight for a summer Auburn live stream. We will not have one next week because I will be on vacation. We will have a Sunday night live stream at 9 Eastern time. Thank you guys so much for joining us, for hanging out and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, of course, you guys be good. And as I could find, I think it's lost on me, War Eagle.